We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk, 1180, 1230, KGEO, 1410, KERI. Albuquerque, New Mexico, we're on 1000 KKIM and 3 times a week on the Internet through knookmedia.com. Our guest by phone is running for the Assembly in the 44th District, the Republican Rob McCoy.
Rob, recently we had Raul Cruz here in Bakersfield. He's a pastor from back in the Midwest somewhere. He's Ted Cruz's dad. He was talking. You know him. He's a great preacher, and he was talking about the pastorate getting out there and talking about politics. And, you know, there's 3 guys I can think of right now that aren't polarized by this, and that would be Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and the pastor that Obama went to for many years in Chicago. They're politics all the time.
This is true.
So how
I had the privilege to introduce Governor Mike Huckabee at our Pastors and Pews events in Woodland Hills, California. And I want to share with your radio audience how one man can make a difference. If you might let me engage, I'd like to just briefly share with you. Would that be all right?
Sure.
I don't know. We'll think about it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, Mike Huckabee in 1992 was a pastor, a Baptist pastor, and he just wanted to know if his gifts in the pulpit would equate in the civic arena. And so he threw his hat in the ring to run for the Senate seat in Arkansas. And a Republican senator had not been elected in Arkansas since after Reconstruction. And he got 40% of the vote in 92. But, you know, in 92, Bill Clinton, who was the governor of Arkansas, was elected to the presidency. The lieutenant governor went up to be the governor, and they did a special election for the lieutenant governor in 93. Mike Huckabee won by less than 2% of the vote. And when he entered into office on the first day, they had locked his office, boarded it from the inside. It took 59 days and 5 court orders, and they had zeroed out his budget just to enter into the seat that he had been elected to by the people. The legislature in Arkansas of 135 seats had 120 Democrats and 15 Republicans. And they own the judicial branch, the executive branch, and the legislative branch. The Democrats did. But Mike was persevering, and he was reelected as lieutenant governor. And then the governor got indicted and arrested and sent to jail. Mike became the governor and also won re-election. And today, 2014, because of that man's efforts, the legislature in Arkansas is predominantly Republican, and there's been a transference, and it's been a remarkable change in that state. And I just want the citizens of California, and even your listeners in New Mexico, to realize, as California goes, so goes the nation. I don't want to give up on this state. The Democrats may have a supermajority in the Assembly and the Senate, but it's time to make a difference, and we got to get engaged.
You know, Rob, we've heard that story from Mike Huckabee the other night. We were at a fundraiser for Shannon Grove, and Clay and I had an opportunity to talk to Mike, and we may have him on. I talked to him about coming on, and he liked the idea, so he gave it to the powers to be in his campaign. So we'll see where that goes. But have you run into problems as a pastor running, getting the old, separation of church and state lie?
Well, my response to the question, and I've received it a number of times, is I say, I'm not going to Sacramento to impose my beliefs on anyone, but I'm also not going to apologize for my congregation being involved in the civic aspects of our community when we have a young man by the name of Travis Swatosh who's been off of crystal meth for 8 years as a result of what we've done. A marriage that's been healed in our family with the Wilkinsons, who now have 8 foster kids. We've had 15 foster kids placed in homes. We've made an enormous difference. We've had 2 businesses that we've gone in and refurbished that were on the edge of bankruptcy by the efforts of our community, our church community. We're making a difference, and I'm not going to apologize for being engaged in the civic world with our church. But again, my desire is not to go up and impose my religious beliefs upon folks in the assembly. I'm going up to, it's often said, I love what Winston Churchill said. He said of himself, he said, in a world of skepticism, I'm a man of faith who believes in truth and the culture it can create. And that's who I am, and that's what I plan on doing.
And there's no need to apologize for that. We're having a conversation with Rob McCoy, Republican candidate for the 44th Assembly District.
Rob, one of the problems that I have seen over the last 20 years has been the change in schools. Ever since we've taken God or Christianity out of the schools, it seems to have gone downhill. Do you have any comments on that?
Well, just looking in California, 50%, almost 50% of our budget goes to schools. And you would think with that kind of money that we spend, our roofs wouldn't leak and our air conditioners could work and our students could be educated, but the opposite is true. And money isn't going to solve the issue. It's a character issue. And if there's no character being taught in our schools, we have a problem. And folks will say, well, you want to bring the Bible back into schools? I would simply say this, that with the Northwest Ordinance, you couldn't receive statehood in the United States without teaching the Bible. I don't know why people are so opposed to it. I also know, too, we're a representative form of government, and I have little effect in changing that unless the citizens of the nation start to write that script like Russell Kirk said. We can complain all we want, but if we're not walking precincts and we're not getting out the vote, we're not making phone calls and contributing to candidates, we have no business complaining. Any donkey can knock down a barn door, but only a carpenter can build one, and we got to get our people to start building some wonderful structures for our schools and make this count. So our faith is only as effective as we are engaged in the political process.
It's kind of comical in a way, Rob. The man who's really responsible for the separation of church and state, Thomas Jefferson, when he was president, signed a bill that issued Bibles to the Indians so they could learn the tenets of our society. So it's kind of interesting in retrospect.
Well, he also authorized that the Supreme Court would be used for worship services and the Marine Corps band would play, and 21 signers of the Declaration of Independence had seminary degrees. FDR led the nation in prayer on the radio. You look at the second inaugural address of Abraham Lincoln, it's inundated with Scripture. This is such a ridiculous revisionist of history that it needs to be corrected, but it will only happen if we engage in the process.
No question about it. Rob, we've got about 2.5 minutes left, and I want to touch a couple things. You were not the Republicans' first choice for this seat, granted? Is that a true statement?
That's right. I entered into the race. There were 3 Republicans, 3 Democrats. The Democrats aligned behind one candidate. One of the 3 Republicans joined my campaign. The other Republican was backed by the caucus. She shortly stepped out, declaring bankruptcy, and 2 days before the filing period closed, they put another candidate up because they didn't think I could win the district. And I was the #1 targeted candidate in the state of California. They spent over $1 million to carpet bomb me, and I beat my Republican opponent by 7 points, which in politics is a landslide. And I've gone from being the #1 targeted candidate in the state to being the #1 supported candidate in the state. So you can make a difference. Just get in the arena.
Okay, so in other words, now the Republicans, now they're seeing the light, and now they are backing you.
They are, and I have a 6.5-point lead over the Democrat candidate in a Democrat-dominated district. So
good.
The Republicans start to see it when we mobilize our base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely, sure. And and yours is a great example of mobilizing the base because nobody gave you a chance before the primary, and now you're the front runner.
We have the strongest ground game of any race in the state. We have over 400 volunteers. Every Saturday we have over 50 people walking precincts or making phone calls, and every day we have 20 to 25 people doing the same thing. In Oxnard, where they said I couldn't reach because it's 50% of the district, mostly Hispanic, we're killing it in Oxnard. We are opening up doors that have never been opened before to the conservative movement. So I would just say, do not despair, get engaged, get busy. Pastors, wake up, start moving your people to be a part of this process.
Now, we've got about a minute left. What is your website in case people want to get involved in your campaign?
VictoryMcCoy.com.
I like
because
that.
Because that's what we're shooting for. VictoryMcCoy.com.
Victory McCoy, spelled MCCOY.
That's right.
.com.
Like the real McCoy.
Okay. And is there a phone number in case anybody wants to call?
Well, yeah, it'll be on the website. I wish I knew the number, but I never call it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What a terrible candidate I am.
That's okay. VictoryMcCoy.com.
We'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
fantastic. Great. And again, you've got the support of the Republicans again, and you're really supported by our
Shannon.
assembly person, Shannon Grove. So again, Rob, thank you so much for the time.
May I add one quick thing?
In about 10 seconds.
I can do it. Please send your funds in if you got them, because even though I'm not your representative, what we do in Ventura, we're going to do across the state. So help us out. God bless all of you. Thank you so much for your time, fellas.
Thank you, Rob. We'll see you in 167 hours on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180.